just got home from the hospital and all 30 cousins on your mother's side want to meet the new baby. You're not really comfortable with so many people around this early on, but you don't want to offend anyone by saying no. Okay, so maybe you don't have 30 cousins coming over, but we've all been in situations where we've made ourselves uncomfortable because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And early parenthood is full of decisions like this. So today, we're talking about boundaries, how to set boundaries that work for your family, and how to stick to them, even when the in-laws or well-meaning grandmothers push back. We're here to help you know you're not alone and hopefully give you some encouragement along the way. This is Newbies.
He's gorgeous.
It's a girl.
Surprise! The whole family's here.
So when are you having the next one?
It's just poop.
Ready for another?
Wow, you look really tired.
Ready to go back to work?
Yellow poop? Seriously?
Did you sterilize this?
Sex? Now? You've got to be joking.
You should sleep when the baby sleeps.
She doesn't look anything like you.
I thought you already had your baby.
I did.
Babies don't come with instructions, so there's Newbies, helping new moms and new babies through the first year.
Welcome to Newbies. Newbies is your online, on-the-go support group guiding new mothers through their baby's first year. I'm Natalie Gross, mom to a 3-year-old boy and a girl on the way. We've got a great show today talking about setting boundaries as a new parent and navigating some tricky conversations that may come along with that. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to visit our website at newmommymedia.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter, which keeps you updated on all the episodes we release each week. Another great way to stay updated is to hit that subscribe button in your podcast app. And if you're looking for a way to get even more involved with our show, then check out our membership club. It's called Mighty Moms. That's where we chat more about the topics discussed here on our show. And it's also an easy way to learn about our recordings so you can join us live. Now let's meet the parents joining our conversation today. I have on Mary Geller and CJ Monroe. Welcome to Newbies, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Well, to start off our discussion, tell us a little bit about you, your family, and experience with today's topic. So, CJ, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So my name's CJ Monroe, and I am dad to a beautiful 14-month-old girl. And we actually just found out that we are expecting a second one due in January.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Super excited about that. I love being a girl dad and everything that goes along with that. And my family lives in Illinois, and my side of the family is all across the United States. And so we're kind of far from my side of the family, but my wife's side of the family is pretty close, less than 20 minutes away from where we live. And so they help watch Lila a couple days a week for us to help with childcare. And so we deal with the boundary issue quite a bit with us. So,
yeah, more on that to come. Mary, what about you?
First of all, congratulations, CJ. That's so exciting. I also have a January baby girl because my daughter's 5 months old. All of our family lives in Oklahoma for the most part. We encountered this issue mostly when they visited us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to digging in.
Today on Newbies, we're talking about setting boundaries as a new parent. Also joining us today is Carly Schweet, an author and founder of the blog and website Hello Postpartum, where she's written on this topic of boundaries. Her work has also been featured in Bustle, Forbes, Mind Body Green, and more platforms. Carly, thanks for joining us and welcome to Newbies.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. It feels very top of mind for me, and it sounds like CJ and Mary too.
Yeah, me too. So let's talk about the importance of boundaries, especially as new parents. How can they help?
Oh my gosh. I mean, boundaries are so important. You know, they really are the pivotal tool that can help us protect our energy, whether it's our physical energy, our emotional energy, our mental health. It can help preserve and improve relationships, if they're used in a really proper and supportive way. Boundaries don't have to kind of be this all or nothing. Well, I mean, they kind of do, but they don't need to be this like isolating thing. So I'm excited to share more.
Yeah, well, in your writing, you talk about boundaries being both internal and external. So can you explain how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So, internal boundaries, these are the boundaries that we kind of hold and honor within ourselves. There's no one else involved. It's really just you. And the external boundaries, those are, the limitations that we place on the behaviors of others, and how they interact with us and ourselves, or, our child. And an example, like an internal boundary example, would be, okay, when baby is born, I'm telling myself I am going to really work on sleeping when I can, making that a priority for me, and setting those boundaries to maybe stay off your phone, or let the dishes wait, or let the laundry stay unfolded. And really honoring that internal boundary within yourself to preserve your mental health or your physical health. And then those external boundaries really look like telling Aunt Sally, no, you can't come over and kiss the new baby 10 minutes after we get home from the hospital.
So, okay, here's the hard part then. How do you go about setting boundaries as a new parent? And is this something that you should communicate to people even before baby comes so they kind of have time to prepare?
Absolutely. I was just having this conversation with a good friend of mine who is expecting, and um, I told her, I believe the most important thing you can do to prepare for a new baby is to get these kind of this game plan in place. Like, what do visitors look like? What are visiting hours? How many people can you realistically interact with a day, a week? How long can people stay? When do you even want to start accepting visitors? It's important to have those conversations before baby comes, and all the while knowing you can change your mind, right? You can always change your mind, but chances are you'll be too overwhelmed, too exhausted, and honestly just not up for setting those boundaries once baby's there, because you have a lot on your plate. It's important to establish those rules and limits beforehand, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know there's going to be pushback, as it seems like everyone on this call has dealt with. So,
Yeah.
what are some tips for dealing with pushback? And a common one I'm hearing actually a lot lately is grandparents who keep begging for the baby to spend the night at their house in that first year. And they just don't take it well when the parents keep saying no. I keep hearing this scenario. So, I'm curious, like, how do you deal with people who just kind of aren't listening?
Yeah, it's really tough. And I'm going to say this probably multiple times throughout this. Setting boundaries is not easy. It's not fun. It's not something I look forward to doing. It's not supposed to be that way, but they are very important. The pushback will never end, right? So when you kind of release that expectation of, oh, well, no one's ever going to push back, there will always be pushback in some form. I think number one is just accepting that there's going to be pushback. And number two, staying firm within your boundaries and saying, thank you so much. We love how supportive, you are as a grandparent, and we feel really grateful, right? We always got to butter them up a little bit first. But at this time, we're just not comfortable with sleepovers, and that's really just on us, and that's something we're working on, and you'll be the first to know when we're ready to take that step.
That's good. That compliment sandwich. I love it.
Exactly. And it's not that, oh, we don't trust your grandparenting skills, yada yada yada, because people take boundaries personally for the most part. They feel like they're not good enough, or if they've done something wrong, or, they can't live up to your standards. So it's important to say upfront, this isn't anything you've done or haven't done, unless, of course, obviously it is. But saying, we'll let you know when we're ready, you'll be the first to know, uh, usually can buy you some more time.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Carly and our parents about setting and sticking to boundaries, especially in the early days of parenthood. Stay tuned. We are continuing our discussion on boundaries today. So before the break, Carly Schweet, the founder of Hello Postpartum, was sharing about the importance of setting boundaries and how new parents can go about that. So now that we've set boundaries, Carly, let's shift now to talking about how we stick to them. So I'm curious if you have some examples in your own life as a mom of boundaries that you've set for your family, and how did you navigate conversations with family members or friends around that? Because like we've talked about, these conversations are not always easy.
They're not easy. They're not easy. And I do have a great story that actually just happened like 3 days ago. Um, Speaking of grandparents. And my dad is recently remarried and they're so lovely, amazing, amazing, supportive people. But we haven't seen them for a few months because they were living out of state and they're now coming back to Washington State where I live. And so I just shot them a quick text message before they came over. And I flat out said, hey, first of all, so excited to have you back in town. Really looking forward to spending time with you. Wanted to catch you up to speed on a few things because it's been a while since you've seen our kids and we wanted to share what we've been working on. And then I went out to list, 3 different main bullet points of here are the situations, here's how we've been handling it. And then at the end, I just said, thank you so much. Again, we're so grateful and excited to hang out with you and really appreciate you, not, I didn't say cooperating, but appreciate you respecting our boundaries on this. It really helps lower the stress levels for everyone involved. And my dad responded and he said, sounds great. Thanks so much for the heads up. And I was like, wow, okay,
Yeah,
that's cool.
that is cool. Good for you. Mary and CJ, I'd love to hear some examples of situations that you've had to navigate as well.
Yeah, first of all, I would just like to say, Carly, thank you so much for all of that. I mean, you're obviously an expert, and I really appreciate. I've just learned a lot listening to you for 10 minutes. So I'm excited to implement that when we have another kid, and especially when you said setting boundaries before the kid comes, because I definitely resonated with, once the baby comes, you just don't have the energy to stand firm and sometimes. And I'm an extrovert, so when we had visitors, I enjoyed them in the moment and I love talking with them and sharing my baby with them. But then I look back and I just wish I had spent more time enjoying my baby. And it's definitely, like you said, boundaries, people take them personally, but they're not personal against those people. It's just something I wish I would have done that I want to do in the future.
Have you had to navigate any tricky situations with family members or friends or anything where, it's kind of been tough to kind of navigate pushback on boundaries, Mary?
Yeah. So when my in-laws visited, there was a lot of commentary on just my methods. It wasn't necessarily overt. I would say it was more passive aggressive, but I didn't necessarily directly communicate the things that were hurtful, but I eventually laid out, this is our method and this is what we expect you to do. But I definitely had to practice the inner confidence that I knew that what I was doing for my baby was what's best for them because I'm their mom. I'm her mom, and I can't let critique affect my confidence.
CJ, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of the opposite of Mary. I'm more of an introverted, stay at home kind of guy, and I can do people and be around people, and but it tends to drain my energy pretty quick. And I also am aware that my child will need to be around their grandparents, and my wife is very extroverted, and her parents are very extroverted as well, and so there was a lot of that learning of, CJ's a little different than the rest of us kind of thing. And so balancing that whenever we are spending family time with her parents, whether that's lunch on Sunday or family events or things like that, and just being aware of each other with that. But our Kirsten's parents watch Lila 2 days a week when we're both working. Thankfully, our schedules work out to where I have 2 days off that are opposite from my wife's 2 days off. And so we really only need additional childcare for 2 days, which has been an incredible blessing that I know not a lot of people get. But on those 2 days, person's parents end up watching her, our daughter, a lot. And for a long portion of the day, basically from when she gets dropped off after waking up through past dinner time, almost to bedtime on those 2 days. And so one of the boundaries that we've run into recently has been we switched from when she was first born, like cuddling her and letting her nap in our arms because it was cute and sweet, and she really just napped a long time while we were holding her, to, hey, it's actually better and she'll sleep better if we lay her down and let her soothe herself to sleep and go through that process. And we've talked with them several times about letting her cry. Like, it's okay if she's crying. You don't have to go and rescue her every single time she starts crying. At home, she'll cry for a couple of minutes and then she goes to sleep. And then sometimes she'll wake up in the middle of her normal nap schedule and cry and fuss a little bit. But like, if you leave her alone, she'll go back to sleep, and that's totally natural. And in the moment, they seem like they're on board. But several times just over the last couple of weeks, there have been reports that I'm getting from my wife of, well, she decided that she only needed to nap 20 minutes today. And isn't that funny? Ha ha ha. And it's like, oh, that's not great. What happened? And we find out that, yeah, she started crying after 20 minutes. And so they apparently can't deal with her crying. And so they go and get her, and she might nap on Pop Pop, or she might just get up and play. And then she's completely tanked whenever we pick her up. And so we don't even get to hang out with our daughter after we both get off of work on those days, because she's instantly going to bed at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night because she didn't get her nap. And so that's been kind of a rough situation of, like, I would like to go over there and like be like, hey, if you're watching her, this is something that you have to partner with us on. But also just being aware that this is my wife's parents, and like, they might not take it as well from me as they might take it from their own daughter, and trying to let my wife handle that with her parents, and knowing how best that they will respond to that, and helping set those boundaries with them.
Yeah, that does get tricky. And when we're talking about grandparents, one thing that comes to mind when I think about boundaries, because I've run into, these same issues with my parents and my in-laws that you guys are talking about, with the sleep thing. We're very, strict on sleep schedule or things like that when my son was little. But there's these differences with generations, and our parents or in-laws are maybe leaning on how they were raised, and in many cases we see millennial parents trying to do the opposite. So that can be, they can have comments on everything from like how we feed the baby or the choices we make about discipline when that baby gets a little older. How would you say the generation gap has maybe played into the situations that you guys have encountered? And Carly, I know you speak to a lot of parents in your line of work too, so I don't know if you have any comments or thoughts on that, as well as what you're seeing like trends wise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can even speak from this from a personal level too. It's every generation that we go through, we learn something new, right? And I always tell myself, well, what are they going to say, in 20 years? Well, those parents back in 2022, what were they thinking, And we're all just learning and doing the best that we can. And I think when it comes to boundaries, I just had someone comment, a well-intentioned older woman comments on something that I did. And I just said, yeah, isn't it interesting how, parenting styles can change, and this is what works for us now. And then another favorite comment or response is just like, why do you ask?
Yes.
It just kind of ends the conversation. People are like, oh goodness, why did I ask?
Yeah. Mary or CJ, any thoughts on kind of the generation gap and how that's played into some of these situations?
Yeah, something that one of my in-laws commented on when they were here after I explained our methods. They said, I don't remember there being so many rules. And my husband responded, he said, well, I think there were rules, but you didn't call them rules and they were different. And so to us, like to you, what our methods are look like rules, when in reality they're just our methods and they're different from yours.
Yeah, I know my brother. He's got 5 kids, and they're actually fostering another one. And the parenting style that they had when it was just their natural born children had to change drastically whenever they started fostering, because there's different rules and things that they have to follow from the foster agency and from that program, and just different abuse situations and things that happen with foster children that are different from your own children who have grown up in a healthy natural environment, and so things that had to change. My dad was a very strict military guy, and he was very quick on the corporal punishment when we were growing up. Lots of spankings and things like that. And then he got really creative when we got too old for spankings, and he got real creative with the punishments where we actually kind of craved being spanked because that was way easier and quicker and got it out of the way. But with my brother and his kids, it's been very interesting to just watch my brother kind of walk that line of, hey, this is the way that you used to do things, and here's the way that we have to do things because of our foster child, or because this is the way that we parent. And they do a kind of a gentle style parenting where they kind of talk with their kids about why things are happening, or why they are getting in trouble, or do you understand why that's not appropriate behavior. And my dad growing up, sometimes it was, this is the way that I do things because I said so. And there wasn't a whole lot of back and forth conversation. It was, I'm the parent, you're the child, you're going to listen to me. So having those conversations with my dad has really helped grow him as a grandparent. And I think he's been surprisingly receptive to that. I thought he was going to be more, nope, this is the way I've always done things, and this is how it's going to happen. But he's been really great at helping kind of co-parent as a grandparent whenever the grandkids are all over at their house. And so it's been really interesting to watch that growth and flexibility from a very strict militant father.
I also had a military dad, and it kind of sounds like exactly the transformation that I've experienced too. So that's interesting. I'm grateful for that as well. Well, looking back, parents, are there any boundaries that you wish you would have set as a new parent? Or are there cases where you bended on boundaries that you wish you would have stuck to?
I can share, personally, not so many around parenting because I really prepped and prepared for that. The most surprising boundaries I wish that I had set as a new parent were those with my care provider, and better self advocacy for myself in my birth process specifically, and just learning what limits and boundaries I am capable of setting as a patient in the healthcare field. And I learned that for my second birth, but for my first, it was a big learning curve.
Yeah, so those boundaries start even before baby's born. That's a great point.
What I would change is how Carly mentioned, setting boundaries with people and limits on how many people can visit during those first few weeks before the baby comes, so that you actually have the energy to do so. That's something I would do different, just so I can enjoy my baby more and not be worried about entertaining people.
I know for us, I'm a youth pastor, and so we're up at the church all the time with our child, and lots of people kind of watch her and hold her, and everybody loves our child, and it's awesome. And I think that we kind of expected that everybody would kind of be aware of what's okay to feed a child and what's not okay to feed a child, and we were just kind of watching, and not that we're like anti-sugar or anything like that, but we were trying to slowly introduce foods. She had just turned 6 or 7 months, and so we were slowly introducing solid foods into her feeding thing. And so we were at the church and hanging out, and one of the youth workers that was holding our daughter and has held her and watched her numerous times before, and is a parent of 4 or 5 kids herself. We come around the corner and see that she is feeding our daughter icing off of one of those Walmart cookies. And she goes, she really wanted it. And it was like a ha ha ha. And like in the moment, we didn't really say anything. We were just like, oh, okay, that's all right. That's fine. And like, we didn't realize that like telling people like, hey, make sure that we're not feeding our child things or like without asking us. We didn't realize that that was something that needed to be said. We kind of, I guess, maybe took that for granted early on in that process of just, I don't know why I would never feed another kid a cookie or dessert or anything without checking with the parents first. And so I guess I kind of assumed that others would think that way too. And so no need to set a boundary there.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, is there anything else, any other thoughts that you guys want to share?
I think ultimately, the biggest piece of advice I could, kind of leave you all with is to really harness your confidence in parenting. And also, if you have a partner, get them on board with these boundaries ahead of time. Explain why they're important to you, what they will help protect, and ultimately, how these boundaries can strengthen not only your relationship with your baby, but your relationship with your partner as well. Because as many of us know, a baby really, really impacts a relationship, and boundaries, when they're properly executed, they really can help, add that strength back to the relationship. And that goes for all relationships, honestly.
I have a question for Carly. Do you have any advice on how to respond to criticism, whether it's for me or my husband, since in-laws are involved?
Yeah, I mean, criticism's definitely tough, and it's never good to hear, right? And for me personally and professionally, I remind myself, first of all, the criticism usually isn't about me, right? Like their criticism is coming from a place that, maybe an insecurity of theirs or something that they wish they did, or who really knows? So first, I always remind myself, this isn't about me, Carly. This is probably, being projected on me by somewhere. And then just and really harnessing that parenting confidence, like I said, and saying, thanks for your feedback, but this is how we're doing it. Or actually, this is what works for us. I'm not looking for any other feedback right now. Thank you.
That was really helpful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
And I also had just kind of a question for Carly as well. Knowing our struggle with my in-laws about nap times not being followed and things, it has me slightly worried about the future as my daughter becomes more of herself and just very assertive and things, and sticking along the lines of the discipline and following the rules that we have at our house. And I want to respect their relationship as a grandparent and their ability to be grandma and grandpa, but at the same time, not allowing others to dictate what they are doing, or letting my child run, wild around their house and just cause mess and mayhem, and allowing them to, if they are watching her in a full-time capacity on those 2 days, I want them to help discipline the child as is necessary. But if the rules for nap time aren't being followed, I'm kind of worried about if discipline rules will also be followed as well.
That's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up, because I found myself, thinking about, how would I handle this? What would I say? And I think, first of all, tell the grandparents how grateful you are and all those great things. And really approach it as, and reframe it as, this is for the well-being of our child, right? Your grandchild. So we want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because ultimately this is for her well-being. These rules, this structure, her sleep schedule. Specifically, when it comes to that sleep schedule, I think it's important to call out to the grandparents, we're teaching her a lifelong skill here. In these nap times, this matters. Her sleep schedule matters. This is a skill she will carry for the rest of her life. And we need your help to be on our team to really, really stick to that. And if that feels challenging for you, or maybe her crying is triggering for you, let us know. Let's talk about it and come up with a plan together. because we are not willing to, bend and negotiate on this. This is literally how I talk to my toddler, but it's the same thing. And then you can also say, once kind of the dust has settled over the sleep schedule, these are other non-negotiables when it comes to discipline. Maybe it's her safety. Maybe it's the food that she can or can't eat. We need you as her grandparents to honor these with us, to help send a cohesive message to our daughter and, set her up for success. And then obviously say, like, here's where you guys can have all the control that you want, but these are kind of our foundational boundaries we need you to stick to. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much, Carly, for coming on and being our expert today on this topic of setting boundaries. And thank you to our parents, Mary and CJ, who joined us for this episode. Be sure to check out Carly's website at hellopostpartum.com. Also, check out newmommymedia.com, where we have all of our podcast episodes, plus videos and more. That wraps up our show for today. We appreciate you listening to Newbies. Don't forget to check out our sister shows, Preggy Pals for expecting parents, Parent Savers for moms and dads with toddlers, the Boob Group for moms who give breast milk to their babies, and Twin Talks for parents of multiples. Thanks for listening to Newbies, your go-to source for new moms and new babies.
This has been a New Mommy Media production. The information and material contained in this episode are presented for educational purposes only. Statements and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of New Mommy Media and should not be considered facts. While such information and materials are believed to be accurate, it is not intended to replace or substitute for professional medical advice or care, and should not be used for diagnosing or treating healthcare problem or disease or prescribing any medication. If you have questions or concerns regarding your physical or mental health or the health of your baby, please seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider.
Hey mamas, don't forget to check out Mighty Moms. It's our online community built for new moms just like you. Not only can you connect with other moms, but you can also join us backstage for special mom-only online events. And you'll also be notified when we're recording, so you can join us as a special guest. Visit our website, newmommymedia.com, and click on the Mighty Moms banner. It's free. That's newmommymedia.com. See you there.